You know, with this cut of shirt, this is like... This is giving a very specific kind of trash, and I'm into it. I like the kind of trash, and to be clear, I'm using the word trash like 100% positively and complimentarily. Like, I strive to be trash. I look like I should be in a Sum 41 video in the background. Does that mean anything to anyone? Like, I should be an extra in a Good Charlotte video. This is a, if you're, okay, if you don't know what we're talking about, this is a music video from the turn of the century that was and is very important to me. Psychologically, culturally, musically, genderly. I'm very excited about this. It's time for yet another episode of Kara's gonna cut this out of the VOD for copyright reasons theater. Everyone's favorite segment. Here we go. Okay. So, let's talk about it. This song came out in what, 2001, I'm gonna guess? We're really gonna get into it. Like, other things will also happen on tonight's stream, but we're gonna get into this. Let's talk about my musical timeline as a young person. Because, as I've alluded to many times before, it was atypical. When I was 5 or 6, I got for Christmas a clock radio. It was my first radio. It was the first time I had the opportunity to choose my own music. I guess I had a cassette player before, but like, you know, it's my first radio. And I tuned it to the only station that I knew off the top of my head as a 5-year-old, which was a station that my dad listened to sometimes. It was 107.5 WGCI, Chicago's top rap and R&B station. You know, rap, hip-hop, R&B, sometimes there was some soul radio station. And I then did not touch the dial on that radio for about 6 years. So, like, my most formative years were spent listening almost exclusively to rap and hip-hop. This was also supplemented by the fact that my dad, who has a fairly eclectic musical taste, happened to have a decent collection of hip-hop albums. He also had a lot of other stuff, which I would also listen to sometimes. Meanwhile, all of my friends are listening to the current music of the day, right? They're listening to your Nirvanas, your Cranberries, your Counting Crows, you know? I am completely unaware of all of this music. And then around about like 8th or 9th grade, I can tell you exactly how this happened. As I was becoming an adolescent, I was staying up later at night, and I started listening to the call-in talk show Loveline, featuring Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew. And Loveline was on 101.9. I don't remember the call letters for that one either. But it was the alternative rock station. And so I would turn it to that, and then I would turn it back to GCI. Q101, thank you. 101.1, I couldn't, thank you, JR. JR is my fact checker. And then we're getting back to Sum 41. And eventually, I just started spending more and more time on Q101. And I started listening to that music. And that music was the era of your Blink-182s, your Good Charlottes, your Linkin Parks. You know, garbage. And so that's what I listened to for a few years. And then I went up to college and became an indie piece of shit. And then, you know, eventually I was like, no, I like rap best. I mean, I was still listening to hip hop the whole time. Now, when I say it's garbage, I'll refer you back to before I played the video when I was talking about trash, and how I use the word trash entirely positively and complimentarily. I love that music. It is garbage. Like, but garbage is important. Like, this is what I think gets left out of a lot of, like, snob conversations. Is I think there aren't enough people talking about, like, we can identify that certain things are garbage, while also affirming and reinforcing that garbage is important for society. That garbage is good, actually. Like, not all garbage, but, like, not all non-garbage is good either. Like, back when I used to throw parties all the time, it was very important that I had a bunch of idiots that were coming. I would go out of my way to invite a certain number of idiots. Because it made the party so much better. And this is a piece of advice I have given to people for my entire adult life. Because most people don't understand this. They don't want garbage at their parties. But you need some garbage there. And the song that we just listened to is one of the most perfect pieces of garbage that I know. You know, here's the thing. We look back, if I can be a bit of a music historian. Hi everyone, Editing Kara here. Kara from the past is about to say a bunch of stuff about the music industry and American politics, and probably a bunch of it is wrong. I think some of it's right, but I'm sure some of it's wrong. So apologies, and please feel free to correct me in the comments. Okay, thanks. When people look back at the post-punk era of the 1980s, right? Like when the Stooges and the, you know, the true like icons of punk has sort of died down, but before grunge showed up, that thing that like bridged those two eras, the Replacements, Mission of Burma, Husker Du, like all of those bands, Black Flag, stuff like that. All of that, like, considered to be a very important evolution in rock music. A lot of that was born out of suburban tedium. Like, it was Reagan's America. A lot of kids were in these, like, very conservative suburbs with nothing happening. And they wanted to break out, and they wanted to rebel, and a lot of them did that through music. And I think it's really interesting to compare that to this era, which is also very suburban motivated, very like middle of the country, bored suburban kids looking to cause some trouble. But 20 years later, it's a very different America. Like, especially, and I'm sorry, guys, I'm sorry to do this to you, but before 9/11, before 9/11, Middle America was in a period of relative calm. Like, there was certainly a great deal of political turmoil in the 90s, there always is, but like, not so much for the middle class. Like, the main scandal of Clinton's presidency was one of perjury and sexual harassment. And I'm not minimizing that at all, right? Like, I think we're all kind of on the train of like, oh wow, we should have taken that a lot more seriously. But it wasn't one of like treason, you know? It wasn't one of war. The economy was doing okay. We weren't embroiled in any like major armed conflicts. Things were like calm, relatively speaking. And so the suburban rebellion, and also like the internet is starting to become a thing very slowly, and also like record labels are becoming even more powerful than they had been in the past. So this rebellion is much more packaged than it used to be. You know, ever since a little guy named Kurt Cobain showed up, record companies were like, oh shit, these disaffected teenagers are big money. And so whereas the suburban rock rebellion of the 80s is like very underground, and I'm not saying one's better than the other, I'm just saying they're very different, you know? It's this sort of like college radio, grungy, or I guess pre-grungy, like very kind of like political disaffectedness compared to the pre-9/11 pop punk era, which is a little more like kids who grew up a little cushier. Even if they didn't have money, like they just kind of grew up in a slightly more chill America. And so there's kind of a toothlessness to it, but not accidentally, I don't think. Whereas the pre-punk or the post-punk pre-grunge bands of the 80s, like think about like the Dead Kennedys. That's a little further back, but like they're part of the lineage. Like very, very angry and political. Sum 41, Blink-182, like they just wanted to have fucking fun. They were like, let's break into the backyard of a house for sale with an empty pool and let's skateboard in the pool. Let's shoplift from the 7-Eleven and like sniff markers and have fun. And I think that's such a unique energy, and it created such a unique era of music that we simply have never had again and never had before. Like, again, it's all part of a lineage, right? Like, this music evolved into other music, but like, the Linkin Park, System of a Down, like the new metal and pop punk era, the Warped Tour generation. This was the dominant white people music of the time. And it was uniquely frivolous, but also uniquely, I don't know. It was emotional in a weird way, right? Like, where are you? Like, that didn't come out of nowhere, right? Then spiders. Like, the sort of the emo punk generation of white kids who I would just, you know what I would say? I would say that the suburban white music of the 80s was characterized by frustration and restlessness. The suburban white people music of the late 90s, early 2000s, I would say, is defined by aimlessness and ennui. There's a real, like, no one's watching us because no one cares. And, like, what am I supposed to do? Also, people really, I talk about this, but people don't talk about this enough. There was a distinctly, like, weird energy to the turn of the century. Because the other thing that was happening in music right now was the pure pop stuff, right? Your Britney Spears, your NSYNC, your Backstreet Boys. And the aesthetics of that and the sound of that was so consciously, like, retro-futurist, space-age insanity. Insanity's nuts. Like, there was a real, like... And it was the millennium, right? So people were talking about the end of the world. And whether or not they talked about it seriously, there was sort of like a... I don't know, there's a real, like, crackle in the air in American music. But not a lot of places for that crackle to go. And I think pop punk did an excellent job, you know, for as, like, a whole, of capturing this feeling of, like... What do I do right now? What am I supposed to be doing? Like, all the jobs seem pointless. The government is a joke. Like, everyone is, like, acting like everything is so modern, but, like, nothing ever seems to change. Let's go to a parking lot, drink 40s, and fuck around. And make garbage music. And I think about it all the time. Because there was, and we are getting back to the video. Because a big part of that, obviously, was about non-conformity, right? It's all about non-conformity. I don't want to be like you, mom, dad, the other kids at school, the teachers, like, I'm different. And the classic joke about this, it's cliched, but it is also correct, so we should say it. I'm not like you, I'm a rebel. That's why I dress the same as all the other rebels and listen to the same music that all the other rebels do, and go to the same places and concerts that all the other rebels go to. And that can be used as a way to dismiss that attitude. And maybe even sometimes it should be. But, like, it was so dominant. I just think that, like, I personally have, like, never really gotten my head around the weirdness of hundreds of thousands of young people in this country insisting they were nonconformist while being massively conformist. Like, I'm less interested in making fun of those kids for being clueless. Like, that's good for a laugh when you're young, and then whatever. Like, I'm much more interested in being like, what was going on there? Like, a self-blindness on that scale is, like, remarkable. And personally, I think that a number of the musicians who were big at the time were a lot more aware of that irony than they openly let on. I mean, yeah, let's not leave out the fact that, like, you know, this has been a corporate nation for quite some time. Things did get considerably more global around the 80s and especially the 90s, and then continuing to today. You know, corporations were becoming more mega corporation-y. Like, let's not make any mistake that these things happened accidentally, right? Like, it's not a conspiracy. It's just the way advertising, marketing, and sales work. If there's a market for what you've got, for what you're selling, you stoke that fire, you build that market, you give them what they need, and you build a message that makes buying those things the right thing to do. Anyway, that's my historiographical view of things. Now let's go back to the video.
It's in the biker shorts.
What the fuck is going on? What is this? What's happening here? I'll never stop asking that question. What the fuck is this? I don't even have, like, a take on this. I don't have a big, just, like... Okay. If you were not around at the time, this right here, this was a genre of video. Like, this to me is the king of them, but, like, there were so many of these videos where very clearly the band just, like, put out the word that, hey, we're gonna be in fucking Cleveland filming this video all day on September 39th. Like, show up and you'll be in the video. There were so many of these, and I love them. I love them because it's simultaneously the beauty of, like, unplanned casting, because it really was like whoever shows up shows up. Like, they're not casting these people. But at the same time, it is very intentional because it's all about the edit. It's about the edit and presumably the producers of the video, like, telling people to do shit. I look at these shots, especially these, like, early shots, in the video, and I'm just like, these are okay. I'm gonna get a little like, bear with me. Like, those are all people. They're like full on people. Like, those people had relationships and jobs and families and schools and like shit they hated and shit they liked and stuff they worried about and the music they liked and the shoes they wore and what they had for lunch, and like, and we just see them. This is the feeling that I have whenever I'm on a train, like an Amtrak or something, and we go past a small town. I'm just like, there are thousands of people in there, and every single one of them has an entire life, and I just get like really overwhelmed. That's how I feel. Like, who are these people? I'll never know. We'll never know. Like, there's a way in which this frame is doing the same thing that like pastoral paintings did in the 1600s. Like, we're just like, I'm going to paint these people not because they are dukes or whatever, not because they are rich or famous, but specifically because they are not rich and famous. I'm going to paint these people fucking hanging out on their farm because they're people, and I want to capture that. This is the same thing. This is a fucking pastoral oil painting. It's a study, you know? It's this tiny horizontal slice of what is a whole life. I also like I like freezing on a lot of these frames and looking at the people that aren't in the center of the frame. This girl's not dancing. And I don't think she's having a bad time, but everyone around her is jumping and she's not jumping. And I think that's so cool and so interesting. Okay, if you're sitting there like, me, you know, Kara, it's just a fucking song. Like, we don't have to talk about pre-9/11 America. But like, this is what I'm talking about. This guy in this fucking crate, it's the Jackass era. You know? Our bodies don't matter, our lives don't matter. Like, let's hurt ourselves. Someone just showed up and like, yeah, my 5-year-old can fucking skate. Who is this guy? Like, also, this part is like kind of mean. There's a real undercurrent of like casual racism in this video, and a lot of videos like it. And I'm not gonna make this isn't me canceling Sum 41. But like, it's not really my lane to go deep on. But like, the opening shot with like the storekeeper. There's like a real like, hey, let's put these people in our video. They won't even get it. It has an energy to it. I like all these people, and like, I knew these people. I knew these people very well, and it's a weird feeling to see that type of person captured in amber. But have it like, I don't exactly know these people because I lived in a different place with a slightly different energy, and like, this is so it feels both familiar and foreign at the same time. God, I wish so badly that I could go back in time and go to one of these shoots, and I've always felt that way, just to like. I just want to know what it felt like. Again, simultaneously extremely organic and candid, and completely manufactured and produced. Like, I don't know. I haven't watched the VH1 behind the music on this. Like, I don't know. But I would assume that someone who's producing the video is like, let's see if we can get someone to shave their head on camera for $50. That'll be fun. And you know what? It is fun. And she looks awesome. Like, this lady has always been a fucking rock star in my mind. This is, again, this is what I mean by, like, these are human beings with whole lives. Which I know sounds so fucking, like, I'm 15 and this is really deep or whatever. Like, but this moment, more than most in the video, really captures just, like, it's really the only time, it's the most time, I think, that we spend with one person other than the band. Maybe not the most, but it's like in the top 3 or something. And it really gives you a sense of, like, this is, like, I don't know. Just, am I making sense to anyone? It's fine if the answer's no, I'm just curious. Also, like, the really weird sexual frustration in all of this. This exchange feels so strange to me. Like, I don't... Whatever's happening here is so odd. Her! I love her. Just... Because I'm guessing that once you showed up to the shoot, you probably couldn't leave. Actually, I don't know if that's true. But there's a decent chance. Like, if you're there all day. Because we just can't handle people coming in and out. Which means they're there all day. And this is, like, I'm not going to freeze frame on that because it's so uncool. Like, that's another thing of just, like... That's probably the most authentic moment of the whole video. Which is a shame, because it's, like, fucked up. The reason it's authentic is because they're legitimately pissed off at these camera people. And I think that, like, they're, like, filming some girl peeing by a dumpster, and her friend is trying to be like, fuck off, like, don't film her peeing. And that, to me, like, just is the purest crystallization of the... Like, the thing that most reveals the producers behind the video. Like, no, we gotta get the shot. Like, these people, like, we didn't invite you guys here to be people. We invited you here to be props and set dressing and content. We invited you here to make us content. And everything you do here is content. I mean, I'm sure they all signed a release. And I'm sure the release said something like, we can film you whenever we want. So in contrast to the enormity, the idea that they're all, like, full human beings, is the reality that, like, that's not how the video treated them. It's weird. And then there's this girl, and I'm not gonna pretend that this chick did not make me feel some gender things. I didn't understand them at the time. I didn't understand what I was feeling at the time. But this woman has lived in my head for the last 25 years. Along with the collection of other women that I saw in various forms of media as a young person and had a feeling about it that I didn't understand. And as I sit here wearing a fucking baseball cap that says drunk slut, I think you can understand. And this is why I say, like, trash is good, actually. Garbage is good. I want to be garbage. I like being trash. It's fun. It's fun and it feels good. Like, something I think that is amazing about transness is, like, you know, the acceptance that gender is mutable and fluid, and also it's ours, right? We can be who we're supposed to be and who we want to be. And that means that, like, a lot of people who transition or whatever a lot of people who embrace a non-traditional gender find freedom in, like, breaking out of the stereotypes and the boxes that society has made for us. But the beautiful thing is, you can also choose to stay in the boxes and the stereotypes, but just the boxes you like. I transitioned so I could be this. I transitioned so I could be a trashy blonde chick. You know? And I think that's so beautiful. I like being a stereotype. I like being garbage. I decided I was going to be garbage, and I did it. So that's what I have to say about the Sum 41 song Fat Lip. It's very important to me. Just put some music and culture rants on YouTube. I probably should just put that whole thing on YouTube, just with the music cut out.